each device stand, and people can very easily get measured by just placing their hand on top of the sensor hole. And we take spectra of the hand and sometimes of the cheek of a person. So let's just jump into some first interesting findings. We wanted in the beginning to see whether we can investigate different dynamic states in the human body. And we had some events with piano and vocals that we were able to take spectra of over 40 people. And we could see different spectral pattern for people when sitting or dancing to the music, where people who were in a more dynamic state were characterized with an increase in water solvation shells in working water in general, which could be related to sweating. And regardless of that, we could see also similar effects from both sets of data, because they were perturbed in the same way with piano, vocals, and the similar environment. So they changed in a similar manner, regardless of us being able to see also differences between the states of people. And this is very important because we can detect different physiological changes in the body. And using different spectrometers, we can be able to get more precise classifications or discriminations between spectral sets. For example, with the same experiment, we got better results in discriminating between before and after music of people using the APS device. And it's not only the wavelength range that matters, the device's light source also is important. The sample pool size and the sample quality are all important factors to consider, especially when measuring people. There are a lot of things to consider in such situations. Another experiment which we were able to conduct was measuring people during crystal ball therapy. And when we measured people sitting down and listening to music, we were able to see how their metabolic reactions were reduced, illustrated by the decrease in small water clusters, while hydrogen bonding and solvation properties of the body water matrix increased, which are also bands relatable to plants in different studies, which are related to preservation of the system, reduction of the metabolic reactions. And when separating the data into genders, we also can identify how gender-specific effects are occurring from this music. And in the tested males that we were able to acquire, we saw that men were less affected by the music. But in general, both men and women were able to increase again in those preservations band in crystalline water, reducing cell activity. Modeling ages also was possible, and characterizing the water spectral pattern for different age groups was very easy to do. It was very easy, not only through looking at the raw spectra, through multivariate analysis as well. And we could identify different water absorbance bands characteristic for the age of people. Younger people, for example, had more small water clusters related to protein synthesis, DNA replication, hydration, while older people with less water in their body were seen with more hydrogen bonding, more solvation shells, less bulk water, less working water. And when modeling age, there are many things to consider. For example, here we tried modeling age using data from people during sauna, and just taking the data of people before sauna to create models to try to correlate the spectra with age, we got very good results. Taking the spectra from after sauna, when you already applied the perturbation, which is a very aggressive perturbation, heat and steam, we got slightly less accuracy in the models. What was interesting was that using all the data together, we got the best results. And this is another important point. This means that applying a perturbation onto the system, you will be able to gain more information about this system, in this situation, people. And this is also seen through monitoring of people during these singing ring therapy sessions, where similar to crystal ball, it's a metal ball, and people lay down, relax, and are played with several instruments around them. And monitoring changes, physiological changes in their body, was possible with very good accuracy. We saw some people reacting less to this therapy. Some people were reacting more actively. We saw even some people falling asleep at the beginning. And the spectra from the body reflects all those changes. But here it's important to note that just looking at the effects from sound itself, which is this therapy, is a wrong way of looking at human data. It's important always to consider that there are also metabolic reactions constantly happening. So people are also resting. This applies different restructuring in the water network in the body. They're also climatizing to this new room that they have entered and laid down into. There's also the effects from near-infrared monitoring, which is constantly applying light to the point of measurement, increasing the temperature at that point. And there are other environmental changes which always have to be considered, like, is there an air conditioner on, is the humidity changing, and so on. So these are factors which all together create the correlation. And looking them separately, we will lose information about the whole system. When analyzing data, it's also important to be able to create different wavelength ranges, because in this way, one can extract very specific information about very specific parameters. For example, the same experiment, the whole session was included with a silence before, the music event, and then silence after measurements. And we could see best separation between those phases of the event between 1000, 1100 nanometers. In the combination bands region, we were able to see changes in charge distribution. In the second and first water overtones, we see all the time factors that we discussed in the previous slide, which is just coherent water reacting to the conditions. Using all the data, we can even assign different functions, different parameters of investigation. With enough data, of course, if more data comes, more robust models can be created. But things like oxidative stress, temperature regulation, energy storage within the body, cell metabolism can be modeled and monitored. Another important thing to consider is which point of measurement to take. In this experiment, we were applying cosmetics to people only on their left side of the body. And we measure both hands and both cheeks. What we were able to see is that the left side, left hand and left cheek, which are the warmer colors, they exhibited a very different change in the first 5 minutes. So one body part reacts differently to another. These are additional factors to have in mind when doing human measurements. After the 10th minute, we saw that the changes were quite consistent through both parts of the body. But it's always important to have in mind the anatomy and the tissues that are being measured. How would they react to the perturbation applied? On the contrary, the right side, which was not sprayed with any cosmetics, in the beginning exhibited very similar changes until the 10th minute, where the changes became more chaotic. So different parts react differently to these changes which are applied. And the changes were smaller compared to the left side, which was sprayed. But also the right side, which was not sprayed, could also be influenced by the left side, whether it's due to through the air by, let's say, aroma, if you're using some cosmetics or some perturbation that can transfer through the air, or simply by water restructuring from the left hand to the right hand by electromagnetic forces. There are things that are still not understood, but are good to be considered. We had also measurements of hand and cheek during biosteam experiments, where people were left into these envelopes, and under them was boiled liquid with many types of herbs. And the skin of the body absorbs this herb vapor. We could monitor the changes in the hands being bigger in this situation because they were covered the whole time. While the cheeks, even though they are more sensitive, they changed less in temperature, because one of the main purpose of the cheeks is thermal regulation of the head, of the body. And we can see these factors clearly. During sauna, for example, we use both devices, micronear and APS, and we can even follow specific parameters like hemoglobin oxidation and oxidation and deoxidation. Of course, in the first overtone, very specific parameters like reactive oxygen species and suvations, which can be related to oxidative stress, to cell water, and so on. In this sound experiment, we also asked people several questions, these 5 questions that you see here. And through this inquiry, we were able to create models and even observe just basic spectral clustering based on the answers. And this is amazing, because this also means that the water can be used for investigating very deep and subtle changes within the body, like mental conditions, emotional conditions, physical conditions, diseases, and so on. And we can pinpoint which bands relate to which condition. Looking at all the data, you can already see a sort of similar trend. All the perturbations on people that were inducing heat had a similar pattern, with increased water, active water, vapor-like water structures, increasing the oxidative stress in the body, the sweating. While another group where the perturbations were more towards relaxing the body in a more passive way, we could see a reduction of metabolic reactions and increase of energy storage within the body from meditation and from relaxing to music. And there is something else to point out here. if you look at here, the yellow line, this points to an experiment which is similar to the green one, just done at different times of the year. The yellow one was done at winter, the green one was done at summer. And you can see different effects in the body, just dependent on the time of the year. Because when people enter at winter, they enter cold, a room which is heated by air conditioner, therefore increasing their vapor-like water structures, and vice versa, of course, when entering a cooling room at the hot summer. So, in conclusion, implementing aquaphotomics can be done successfully for characterizing individuals and changes through their body over time. Even we saw consistency in the results through 2 spectrometers that we used for measurement, and using 2 spectrometers in different ranges, you will be able to gain even more information of the system in question. And just to conclude, several points to have in mind when measuring people, and to consider in future prospect. With that, I would like to thank everybody for listening. Thanks to Professor Tsenkova for the organizing committee of the conference, to Yunosato and everybody else for listening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We could hear you very well. Thank you for your presentation. And we have already 20 minutes have passed, so we can accept only one short question.
Thank you for the interesting talk. I'm Miyazaki from Resu Food Company, and I have a question about the measurement. So I wonder that is there a possibility of measuring the surface water from sweating or something? Is this in case the real embodied water condition?
I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear clearly the question, but I think it was, is the measurement of the surface of the skin indicative of the whole body physiology? Is that pretty much the question?
Yes.
Well, when using the spectrometers that measure in different ranges, you penetrate at different depth the measurement point. For example, with APS measuring from 660 to 970 nanometers, it penetrates much deeper into the tissue compared to using micronear, for example. And we saw that both just the hand and the cheek correspond differently to the water molecular conformations, but similarly to the applied perturbations. And
this and this not good, but this okay.
Okay. So it's important to note that the body parts that are chosen for measurement would they're of importance. The choice is very important, because measuring the hand when you do specific type of treatment on the face, for example, would you one type of results. When listening to music, the whole body listens to music. When running, the whole body reacts to the dynamic state. So, and different parts of the body, they will react differently. And that's important to have in mind always when measuring people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then let me close Alex's presentation. Thanks for the speaker again.
Thank you.